Happy Friday, Mike Gillespie, SalesMax, podcast number 27. Does anybody really know what time it is? Wow. Is that Chicago in the background? Who did that? Oh my gosh. Does anybody really know what time it is? What an appropriate song to come in the middle of this podcast. Well, you know what? The chorus line on that is, does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? If so, I can't imagine why. We've all got time enough to cry. And for goodness sakes, this week, we've laughed, we've cried, we've laughed, and we've cried. And again, today on Friday, we're crying again because the market is down again. Volatility, uncertainty, my goodness. That's what I want to talk about today. Time, markets, and your retirement. Let's talk about not panicking first. Number one, don't panic. Warren Buffett says, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. Great advice, and I highly recommend it. Just focus on the long term. Don't worry. Buy good quality companies that pay strong dividends with good balance sheets, and you're going to be fine long term. You know what's going on today? Coronavirus. My goodness. You just can't get away 24/7. Let me read some headlines today from CNN. Bonds extend rally as U.S. stocks decline. Holy smokes. As my favorite tennis player, Johnny McEnroe, says, are you serious? The 10-year treasury at 0.7? That's outrageous. When I got into this business, we had double-digit returns for treasuries. It's insane. But you know what? That's the world that we live in. And you know what? Does anybody really know what time it is? You talk to one economist, they say one thing. You talk to another, they say something else. The talking heads on TV. Everybody's all over the place when it comes to what's going on. But what I know, and my 35 years has taught me, is focus long-term, buy quality, buy income. And you know what? Coronavirus happens to be the problem du jour. We've had 9/11. We've had numerous different things that make markets react differently. So I want you to think about this for a second. Beware of the media. They've got ads to sell. They have to be spectacular. They've got to have something to talk about. Take everything they say with a grain of salt. Use good common sense. Most importantly, don't panic. We talked about not panicking. Now I want to talk about markets. Boy, there's an African proverb. It says, smooth seas do not make skillful sailors. Over the last 10, 12 years, your advisor, yourself, if you're doing it yourself, anybody could have made money in this market. Now you need to be careful. You need to make sure you have the right advisor, and you got to make sure you're making the right decisions. So be very careful in this very volatile time. We haven't had times like this since, my gosh, back in the beginning of the year in 2009. In fact, I wrote an article back then. Ironically, does anybody really know what time it is? Because back then it was the same way. We had this incredibly volatile market where people were panicking, even seasoned professionals. Because you know what? In these types of times, people sometimes lose their heads. Don't be that person. So think about this for a second. What I'd like to think about the market. It's a cyclical beast. And I want you to think of a clock. And I want you to think that if 12 o'clock is a bull market, and 6 o'clock is a bear market, where are we today? If 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock is a recession, and 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock is a recovery, where in the economic cycle are we today? I'm going to say that maybe we're at a little after 12, and maybe things might be as rosy as they've been in the last 10, 12 years. So whatever your take on it, understand what the market is and what it does. And again, as I said earlier, don't panic. If you have traditional asset allocation, be very careful with fixed income. Because when interest rates go down, it's great for bonds. Not so much when interest rates go up. So be very careful. And why would you own bonds today with 0.7, which is the benchmark for fixed income? My goodness, we're in different times. So be very, very careful. Be diversified. Make sure you have good quality stocks that pay dividends. You know what? It's okay and encouraged to own real estate. and maybe some income producing real estate. And the other thing is, why wouldn't you own some guaranteed lifetime income offered through insurance companies to provide that income that really you can't get anywhere else? So we talked about not panicking. We talked about markets. Now I'd like to talk about your money, your retirement. Call your investment advisor and ask him or her, hey, how we doing? By the way, it's been crazy. I'm getting a little uncomfortable. What are we specifically doing for our retirement income, our distribution phase, especially if you're over 50, 60 years old? What are we doing? Because I can't take this up 5, down 4, down 5, up 3, because you know what? When you're taking money out, the math doesn't work. So have that conversation and figure out what you're doing. And hey, if you're doing it yourself, good luck. Wish you the best. Have a specific number and budget in mind about the things that are most important for you to cover, and have some guaranteed income in place to make good on those bills that you have to pay. So we talked about not panicking. We talked about markets. We talked about your money, your retirement. So what I want to do is summarize. Again, can't say it enough. Don't panic. If you have profits, take those profits from your stocks and or your bonds, probably a good idea, and convert that to guaranteed lifetime income that you can't outlive. Talk to your investment advisor about that. And what's that going to do for you? It's going to help you sleep easier at night and not worry when you're watching Kramer, where he's the madman on TV. He's great to watch. He's entertaining as heck. He's hitting his buzzers and his horns and he's doing this and that. But you don't need that when it's your retirement, right? So talk to your advisor. Sleep easy at night. And lastly, my ask of you is make sure when you're talking to your advisor, today, tomorrow, this weekend, hold the course. Look for guaranteed income ideas. There's some terrific investments out there that will provide you a guaranteed income you cannot outlive, that have tremendous guarantees attached to it, which is critically important when you're taking distribution from your retirement. Dividend paying stocks, real estate. If you haven't refinanced your home, please run, don't walk to your nearest mortgage person and ask them, what's it going to take and how much is it going to lower me on my monthly payment? And you even consider some investment properties to own to provide some income as well. With that, Mike Gillespie signing off, Sales Max. Have a terrific weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Good luck.